So happiness actually isn't found in consumption. Happiness is found in contribution. And so what we looked at is for each of our teams is how do we contribute to other people?
Peter Lowe, 100X. Welcome to the Moxon Mindset, my friend.
Mate, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for your time. Very grateful to get to spend this time with you, pulling out all of that wisdom that's in there for the listeners. So thanks again for your time, mate. I might start by asking you for a quick backstory on Peter Lowe and your career to date. I'm keen to talk about Cavalry, your business that was from your garage to a phenomenal international success and then being sold to now 100X, coaching people to do what you've done. Share with us your backstory with Cavalry, and I'll ask you some more questions about that.
Yeah, sure. So originally corporate background, studied postgrad and undergrad in business, worked in the IT industry, not techie, but in product and group management. And at the age of 25, I was working for a US $50 billion company. My portfolio was $300 million. And reporting to the Australian-based CEO. So a great start, but I was there going, this is not me. And it's not saying that there was anything wrong with that. It just wasn't me. I always had a burning desire to start something on my own. And so in the dot-com crash of 2000, October, I started an IT company working out of my parents' bedroom, didn't pay myself, drove a 22-year-old Toyota Corolla, used to park at a few blocks around the street so the clients wouldn't see my car. And it kind of started like that. But in the first year, we were, it went well enough. We turned over more than 7 figures in the first year of operations. And that overnight success took 18 years. And what started out of a bedroom grew to be an international hybrid cloud company, Cavalry. A lot of lessons learnt from that. And I think in terms of 100X now, I describe myself as I've been a pretty good player on the field, and I'm working with myself and the team, working to be the best coaching practice on the planet, business coaching practice.
As a student of your coaching business, mate, and I have had been a part of various groups, I can certainly say it's a wonderful group to be a part of. So thank you very much. Tell us one of the biggest challenges you had in getting yourself from wearing all hats to the working on the business. And that's the challenge is, a lot of business owners, small business owners in my audience, and me being one of them. What do you think was the hardest thing that was getting you out of that, you doing everything to being able to sort of work on the business?
Yeah, I'll address that in a couple of ways. One, in terms of your mind frame, and then second is to give someone something practical to implement to help that process. But if we can understand that neurologically, being busy gives a sense of comfort and familiarity. And so when we're saying we're doing all things, I can guarantee for anyone listening, there are some things that you don't need to be doing. But you choose to do it because, look, it's not efficient. It's cheap to outsource, but I might as well do it. I'm not that busy. Because when you're not busy, it creates this discomfort to do something. Firstly, it's to say, get uncomfortable and create space. So you're going, gosh, I've got to do something. And maybe that do something might be call more clients or something else. So that's the first piece, is to understand that we like being busy rather than being effective. So that would be kind of number one, is you've got to do that. So look at the tasks that add value that you've got the skills for. And there might be a task like bookkeeping where it's essential to do, but you're not good at it and it's not part of your growth story. But if you were to outsource bookkeeping, well, guess what? It's important for someone else because it's their core business. and they want to do it well because that's how they get paid. So what's important and urgent to you, what's important and urgent to someone else, what's important but not urgent to you, and vice versa. So that'd be just this first piece, is you got to get out there and create space and have that uncomfortable piece of making space.
Yep.
If you're not sure what to do that, just do the 15-minute audit. Just do your normal week, have a piece of paper, split your day into 15 minutes, and just write down what you're doing for that 15 minutes and look at all the categories that was involved in. I think if you did that exercise, most of us would be surprised about how much, administrative tasks that we actually do. So that would be a thought and an exercise.
Hard to do, but seriously powerful, that exercise, isn't it? Sort of accounting for your days. It's challenging, but a lot of value in it. So Cavalry, huge success. We've spoken a bit, or we've heard a bit, Pete, about the happiness that you had with your employees in that business and the culture that you created. Was that the number one thing that led to Cavalry's success and growth?
100%.
And can you tell us a little bit about the metric that you included, that as the business was sold, it was still the particular part of that culture that carried on into the new owner's hands?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably what's good to talk about this happened probably, I don't know, a fair way into the journey. The company was already doing well, and we were sitting down with our mentors and reviewing our numbers, and our mentors were like, this is great work. And the partners in the business weren't happy. And so they just asked the question, what's the matter? We said, what's the matter? And we just went, is it we're good, but we're not Facebook good? Or what was it? And then we literally just said we didn't want to be rich and dead in the grave. And everything was fighting. It just felt like a fight. And we wrote down, said, we just want to be happy. Want to have a happy team, want to have happy customers. And we wrote down, we will pursue happiness over financial profit. Now, that sounds amazingly altruistic, and we absolutely sought to run a profitable business, and we still measured things and a bunch of stuff. But we just said, if there's an activity that actually isn't adding core value to our clients and our team, despite any money we may make off it or money we may save, we need to get it off because it's not happiness. And so that meant we put in some hard decisions, and it also meant we developed culture in a certain way. But basically through the exercise, we came up with a manifesto, and it said, apparently money doesn't make you happy, but we found happiness makes us money. And that was a journey that was taken across over a couple of years. We developed a full happiness system. We were a finalist for the Microsoft Global Awards that year in San Francisco, and also spoke both nationally and internationally to that community based on what we found. For those of you listening that are going, happiness, rah-rah, happiness can be just a rah-rah, but also happiness can be a system. It can be intention, and it can actually be extremely profitable for business in more ways than one. And the company that bought us out is now on an IPO roll-up. And if you look at the investor prospectus there, what is there is our happiness system that we develop.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the happiness system that you developed and that you talk a lot of in your coaching, team get-togethers in sort of, on a daily, sort of weekly, monthly, anything else about that for the business owners out there, some gold nuggets that
sure.
that are helpful?
Sure. Well, the first thing we'll get to when you look at happiness, we'll start with the neuroscience. And one of the forefathers of positive psychology is a guy called Marty Seligman. And what was he frustrated about is when you talk about mental health, we think about mental illness, but when we talk about physical health, we talk about physical strength. If we talk about financial health, we talk about, they're all positive things, but mental health was seen negatively. And he wanted to develop positive psychology in terms of, well, let's not just talk about I'm a 1 and I need to be a 2. Let's talk about I'm an 8 and I want to be a 9. And so he's done some of the most comprehensive studies around human happiness. And what you find in terms of humans being happy, one of the things, well, there's a few things. One is believe you've been born for something bigger than you. Like there's a God, there's a creator, might be a way you might explain that. Another one is have an outward sense focus. Think about helping others before you help yourself. And another one of these is have an ability to overcome disappointment. They're the kind of 3 of the 4 big teachings that he would say. So when we would say everyone wants to be happy, happiness wasn't found in indulgence. Like if you just sat and ate cake, you wouldn't be happy. You know, after I sold the business, I had some time. I traveled around Australia. I didn't have to work financially. Well, I can tell you happiness wasn't just eating chicken pies in the outback. So happiness actually isn't found in consumption. Happiness is found in contribution. And so what we looked at is for each of our teams is how do we contribute to other people? And so there were metrics, and what we tied it to, it wasn't the hard metrics, it was the contribution that we were making to someone's day. And included in that is a system where we called special mentions, where you would just get the team together and you'd shout someone out. So I'd go, hey, I'm Pete. I want to shout out Jeff. I want to give him the Borat Award. Very nice. I was stuck on something and he hung back on a Thursday night and helped me on it. Really appreciate that. 1, 2, boom. And we had a system of recording those happiness interactions and rewarding those people. So yeah, they're just some of the things. But I would say it's this. They've done a lot of studies on this.
Yeah.
If you want to attract different people,
yes,
you need to be a firm of endearment. People are looking far more than a job to go to.
They are, aren't they? Do you think that's really increased in recent years following COVID, Pete? People are looking for more purpose and more satisfaction. And do you think, has that increased recently?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's just a natural consequence of human race pushing forward. Like the working conditions of 100 years ago are different to what working conditions of 50 years ago and 5 years ago and today. That's because as we get better at things, that's what drives us forward, is that ability to be content in who you are in the pursuit of who you're destined to be. So make things better, not because you need the itch, but have a contentment in who you are, otherwise you'll always be dissatisfied. But let's push things forward and make them better. And so guess what? Working conditions and the reasons why we work continue to get better and better. And once upon a time, it was just be thankful that you have a job. Now, I can tell you, a friend of mine, he had quite a great career. Like he was a 7-figure career guy, and he lost his job in a previous financial disaster. And he would say to me, a bad day working is better than your best day unemployed. Here's the thing, guys. We aren't built to consume. We're built to be a contribution. And so if you can create an environment where you get to be a contribution, make a difference, utilize your skills for a purpose bigger than yourself, then we give people something more than work. And I think that's what's super important.
And that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure there's going to be many business owners out there that are going to find that extremely valuable. Tell us about 100X.
Yes, 100X. We want to 100X the time, money, and mission for kingdom-minded business owners. And so that's certainly what we want to do. So we kind of say, look, you're built for a purpose bigger than yourself.
Yep.
And you need time, money, and mission.
Yes.
And if you lack one of those things, if you lack time, but you've got money, well, you got mission in terms of what you want to do. You might have money, but you don't have time. Well, then that's going to be a bit of a squeeze, and you can lack any of those types of things. So we want to inspire and practically equip people in that. And you can have it all. You can have more time, you can have more money, you can have more mission.
Yes.
And that's certainly what we want to equip people with.
Was it a light bulb moment, Pete, when you were traveling? Obviously sold the company, didn't have to work, eating lots of chicken pies in the outback. Was it a light bulb moment, or was it something that you'd have always thought of that you'd like to do?
I think it was a realization that I always knew. So I was coaching 100x, coaching businesses through 100x whilst I ran my other business. So it was definitely a passion there. I knew that life wasn't chicken meat pies or picking up shells on the beach.
Yep.
And that trip, I was just exhausted. I needed to do, but to have that experience certainly added to this conviction I have. Like I've kind of known it in my head. I've felt it in my heart.
Yep.
But to experience it with my hands, I'm like, yep, this confirms what I know, which is contribute, don't consume.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in their world knows someone. You can see the fruit of people that live just with consumption.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
You're fat and lazy.
Yeah.
Right? And so do you want to be the lean, hungry tiger or do you want to be the fat tiger?
Yeah.
And so I just encourage people to do that, because I think so much of what's being sold today, there are so many people making money on promises.
Yep.
This is easy, travel the world, get how you want it. And absolutely find ways to live more of your life that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's really great. But I think just know that that's not happiness.
Yep.
You need to add into that a reason for living where it impacts people more than you. Now, guess what? I am far more alive coaching and working at 100x than when I was just consuming.
Yeah.
Like, here I am doing this. Guess what? This is work and I'm up and I've got to change my schedule. And that, you know what? That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, and I think a part of it is, even with 100x, we stretch for things and there's things that we can potentially fail at.
Yeah.
And that's called being alive. Yeah. And that's great? Called, having that old saying, right? If you've got nothing to die for, you've got nothing to live for.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mate, I've got a few great questions for you that I think the listeners are going to really enjoy. We're going to have a short break and we will be right back. See you in a sec. Peter Lowe, thank you again for your time, mate. Very much appreciated. We're talking 100x and your passion and skill for helping business owners create the dream that they all started their business for. What's the number one thing people want help with when they come to 100x?
I think they're in a problem and they think the problem is fixed by changing someone else. How do I make my stupid customers see the tremendous value I give? How do I get my team to not just do the job, but, do more and live with a passion? How do I, it's always about change someone else. And the thing I'd probably say here is breakthrough starts with break you. And organizations, community groups, churches, they don't change. People do.
Yep.
And the first people are the leaders.
Yeah, 100%. I had somebody say to me recently, if you want to help others, help yourself first.
So something has to change in you first if you're the leader.
Yes.
And you could go through countless examples of where that's said, but I'd give an example is that people often complain that they've got helpers, but they don't have any owners.
Yes.
People just do their job and leave.
Yes.
Well, guess what? That started with you when you did the job interview and you gave a job description.
Yeah.
I'll describe to you the job.
Yep.
So people joined on that proviso and they did the job.
Yep.
But the other way I'd throw that is you give job responsibilities, not job descriptions.
Yes.
And if you can give job responsibilities, then you can own a job responsibility. You can be passionate about a responsibility. You can't be responsible. You can't be excited about a to-do list.
Yes.
Or a description.
Yeah.
So give something, help tie it to something else.
Yep.
At 100x even, there's some key guys that have got some roles here, just have a bit of a play, but, some of the roles that we describe. I've got a guy called Raj. His job is to make us smooth like butter. Got a guy called Sean. His job is to help our clients win. We've got someone called Dr. Robbie. He's around peak performance. His job is to make our clients be better. My job is to lead and feed.
Yes.
And so there's just some examples here that just help us to get focused, to say what we're doing rather than Chief Operational Officer. And I'm not having a go at the title.
Yep.
I'm just tying it to a purpose bigger than ourselves, because they're the individual roles that we've got. But the greater perspective is, guys, we want 100x our clients' time, money, and mission.
Yeah.
And so when we get on a call and someone goes, oh, thank goodness I implemented that, and oh my goodness, that saved me so much time.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Then it's a pretty rewarding call to have.
In terms of, the from the culture side of things versus strategy and implementation and systems and processes, I've started a couple of real estate businesses now. When I started on the business owner journey, I thought it was, to scale, it's all about systems and processes. But I've learned, it's more about the culture and the people that you have on board to help you. The systems and processes are, they're important, but, they're small. I've listened a lot to your podcast, and the most recent one, very interesting, with the gentleman that has a crew of volunteers contributing 780 hours each week. He's talking about affecting change amongst that group, and you both talk about affecting change in the workplace, but more so with a group of volunteers. He had an expression that for people to be involved in change, they need to be part of the change. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think people reject change happening to them, but embrace change happening with them. So it's not about the perfect plan. It's not about the perfect strategy and saying to someone, here you go, do this. It's how do you engage people in a way where you can co-create and coalescence what the vision and what the implementation may be. Does a couple things. Instead of relying on the intellectual property of one or two people, we engage the intellectual capacity of the whole team. And that's important to do. And then because we're creating change together, well, you're going to be far more motivated on something you helped create than something that was passed on to you and you were instructed to do. And so I think that's really important.
You spoke this morning about the team choosing the next recruit and having the team heavily involved in who joins the team. I think that's brilliant, and it's just talking a lot about that sort of thing, isn't it? How do you choose the people that you work with, Pete?
I think it's on a few things, but assuming there's competency and character there. The other piece, I think, that affirms the decision. There's a whole structure around this, and so I don't want to oversimplify it. Yes. But one thing I will say is I look for the leakage. I've never had someone give me a bad CV or deliberately do a bad job interview. Tell me your weakness. Oh, I just love my work too much, and that's everyone's weakness. Yes. So you don't listen for what people say. You listen for the fruit of their habits. And if you think about personally and professionally, we all have an avatar. We all represent ourselves a certain way. And when the pressure comes, you'll see leakage. You'll see leakage in yourself. You'll see leakage in other people.
Yep.
I watch myself under pressure, and I watch for the leakage that comes out, and they're the things that are the tests of my character. So one of the tests of my character is if there's someone who's interested in working with us and I don't think they're a fit, if I can say, actually, I don't think you're a fit, you'll waste your money with us. That's a test of my character. It's so when those opportunities come, I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm focused on the right things. But when you're with people or friends, how are they acting when they're under pressure? And when people show you their true self, pay attention, because they've shown you your true self. And I think you'll get that true self under pressure. Yeah. So that's a big thing that I look for.
Yes, and multiple. I know you've spoken of multiple interviews, some of them long. interviews with the team, internal, external. That's one thing I like to do is interviews in different locations and in different circumstances. Just even walking to the lift might pick up something about somebody. I found that to be useful. Pete, what are your thoughts on? And this is another big question. Hard to answer with a short answer, but goals for companies in terms of setting goals and the process of a company achieving goals. What are your sort of thoughts on that? I'm very always curious about the setting of goals and the ongoing process to achieving them. How do you go about it at 100X and with your clients?
Sure. So when I've distilled at my own journey and in terms of what I believe determines success, what I struggled with is you could find models that talked about how do we do the black and white of business.
Yep.
But they seem to be devoid of soul and purpose. And then if you wanted soul and purpose, you kind of went through this life coaching thing. And so it was like, that didn't spell success for me. It wasn't that we did business coaching and life coaching. It was just like, feels weird. But when we break it down, we've developed a system called the 100X Warrior. And there are 7 attributes of the 100X Warrior in terms of building a tremendous business and building a tremendous life. But one of the things that we do talk about is having a head for strategy. And having a head for strategy means the 1, not the 100. You go for the great, not the good. And you understand that every good option is good in itself, but if it takes you away from what the great strategy is, then it's a distraction and then you should cut it off. And the thing about strategy is it's most confused with vision and dreams. Vision and dreams are all about the future, questions of why, blue sky, empty whiteboard, just write down every dream and possibility and brainstorm out there. So that's a great thing to do. But after that, what we need to do is look at that list and get down to the core of what we do. Where is it where people can be thankful that they met us? Where do they go, thank God we met you. Thank God we met 100X. And then when you get to that essence, you want to cross out every good option to leave you with great. So strategy must be great. It's less about right and wrong, and it's more about clear and unclear. On the reverse, your operations just needs to be good enough. And I know lots of people go, oh my goodness, I want my operations to be great as well. Of course we do. But the reality is that I could spend the next 10 years refining the look and feel of my invoice template. Oh, maybe that goes better at font 7.32 rather than 7.5, and I'm going to use Times New, Roman instead of Arial, or the market has just got graphic design people had a heart attack. But you could spend forever and a day making something great, right? But your operations has to be good enough because there's always going to be something more that they're going to want to be doing and growing at. So that's one thing, great strategy and good enough execution.
That's one thing I've learned from you. Definitely, it just needs to be good enough. I'm definitely have been on the no, it's got to be it's got to be spot on and perfect, and that's one thing I've certainly learned. So thank you for that important point.
Pleasure.
Coming to an end. If there is one, in terms of your career, Pete, can you think of, your most teachable moment? Could you think, Pete, in your career of a moment that you look back on and go, I've learnt the most out of this and I will take on these learnings for everything else I do?
People follow leaders with an all-in vision.
Yes. Goosebumps.
And there's a big difference between being a manager and a leader.
Yes.
And I can remember I started the company under a different name originally with a vision and passion to do something big. And
this company or 100X or Cavalry?
This is Cavalry.
Yeah,
in Cavalry. The early days it was called Channel Connect.
Uh-huh.
And then I had some guys in the team that certainly weren't vision people, but I was an immature leader, and the company just wasn't going the way I wanted to go, and it was very mediocre. And I sat everyone down, and I also had one-on-ones chats, and I first thing I did is I apologized. I said, look, this company never started with the dream of being mediocre. We started with the dream of being the premier IT company serving this area of the market. And that's something I didn't communicate clearly or ran clearly enough, so I take full responsibility for that. But moving forward, that will be our drive. And so if you just want to, have the everyday and clock on, clock off and not interested in building something bigger, that's okay, but this won't be the place for you. And the company was pretty small then, and 3 out of the 4 engineers left after a couple months. And so here I am recruiting under enormous pressure. I'm not technical and I need people. But I had a vision, and I was all in committed that I was going to give it a red hot crack, or, I wasn't going to leave anything on the table. And so I would say to people, there was someone I liked in that interview process, and they're like, wow, they had this nice, cool corporate job, and then, they're going to work with this startup. And I just say, look, I'll tell you one of 2 things that I can guarantee as a result of this meeting. Either you'll get on board and you'll help create the story, or one day, and I don't know when, you'll pick up a magazine and you'll read about us. So the only question I'm going to ask you is, do you want to get on the bus or get off the bus? And people joined on that vision. Yeah. And along the way, we made lots of mistakes.
Yep.
Of course, you do things differently.
Yeah.
But we had a whole bunch of grit, we had a whole bunch of determination, and together we created something special. And the best thing I can say is the thing I'm most proud of is the relationships that get formed when you live with the commitment to better other people. And I think that's something I'm trying to do better. There's a saying I say is, what's the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? A millionaire knows how to make money. A billionaire knows how to make other people money. And I want to work through that attitude. You can't do this in a free-for-all for anybody. You offer this to the wrong person, and they'll take advantage of it. But there are a lot of good people out in the world that you can partner with to create something brilliant. So don't let the hurts of the past cause you to be cynical and hold things back. Let the hurts of the past give you a shrewdness. I think there's an old Hebrew proverb, be innocent as a dove, but be shrewd as a snake. Okay? Keep your innocence, keep your wonder, keep your possibility, but be shrewd.
Yep.
Be shrewd. So guess what? You know what? I believe in the best in people.
Yep.
I believe that there's people here that can come alongside, and I pray for that. God of divine appointment, connect me with the people that I'm going to help or that are going to help me. Connect me with people that are going to come alongside me with kindred spirits. Divinely connect me with the right people. I believe that they're out there.
Yes.
Also, give me the wisdom to see the people that aren't truly for me. And help me to dust my feet off, walk away.
Oh, good,
but there are people that are for you. So,
man,
boom.
Just
insert Braveheart music.
Nuggets of gold right there. My God. Talk about coming home mate. Strong. Just wonderful stuff, man. Thank you so much for your time, Peter Lowe. You're an inspiration, a man of great wisdom, and a truly beautiful human. For anybody that would like to get in touch with Peter, 100X on social media?
Yeah, go to Peter Lowe 100X, the website, the W's 100x.com.au.
And if you want to ask anyone about what it's like, give me a call.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time, mate. And
thank you, mate.
We'll chat to you very soon.